I'm Josh Gasser.
And I'm Jordan Taylor. Welcome to A Shot of Whiskey, Season 2, Episode 9. Let's get it. Welcome back to A Shot of Whiskey. And again, no guest for us today, just me and my guy, JP Yash Yasa, the one and only Captain America. But before we get into this episode, still proud to tell y'all that Underdog Fantasy is our newest partner. And on top of that, even better news, they're currently running a promo still for all new users. They're being too good to you guys. The easiest way for you to get in on this special is by downloading their app and using my code ASOW24. And even if you've already registered and haven't deposited, you can still use the promo. So what are you waiting for? They're giving you plenty of time. Go ahead, jump in and start playing along with me and Yash all season long, or for the rest of the season, at Underdog Fantasy. Yasa, man, let's get right into it. Ain't no need to waste no time. What you want to say, man?
You just called me Captain America. That's the first time you ever called me that?
No, what you mean?
Yeah, but you don't call people. We just had Frank on the show, and you refused to call him Frank the Tank. So I'm surprised
because that's not his nickname. Like that's different. Frank the Tank, and Frank the Tank is. I was never really a fan of that nickname. Like,
it's too standard. Like everybody who's named Frank is called that.
I just grew up on old school, so I was just kind of like, I was never like the big fan of that nickname, to be honest. And now it's like I'm not. I don't know. I really don't have a good answer, because calling a grown man Captain America is weird too. But calling a grown man Frank the Tank,
I just wanted to call you out for it. That's all.
That's fair. That's valid. But listen, we ain't gonna waste no time. I'm over here sipping my tea. While you
sipping your tea and calling a 32-year-old Captain America. You're off to a good start.
You 32?
You're 34.
You're 32? Are you 32 for real?
And you're 34.
Yeah. Damn, you old as hell. When you turn 32? Yeah. That's crazy.
Literally yesterday. Thanks for wishing me happy birthday.
Was it? Oh, I'm sorry. Happy birthday. I forgot you right before Valentine's Day. Happy birthday, man. We'll have to put in a little happy birthday, Yash,
no,
man.
All good.
32.
That's all good. No.
I'm not your wife, man. I hope she did something nice for you. That's what you get married
leave that,
for.
We'll leave that for off camera. Yeah.
I saw something that just actually mentioned. I was on Instagram before we got on here. That I was just talking about when you get older, nobody gives a damn about your birthday. It goes from like
including yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm really good with birthdays normally too, so I apologize. Like I normally have a lot of my friends' birthdays in my calendar, but a lot of moving pieces. Can't lie to you, but happy birthday, man! Happy 32nd.
Thanks, man.
No doubt. So after we said that, we said we was going to get right into it, and then just wasted about 3 minutes. Not wasted, but spent about 3 minutes. Listen, Badgers lost 4 straight. Finally got a win last night against Ohio State. Let's go back to, we did a preview with Raphael Davis and Lewis Jackson before the Purdue game, highly anticipating the Purdue game. We recorded that before the Nebraska game with an assumption that they were going to win. Didn't quite go down like that. And ever since that second half at Nebraska, the Wisconsin offense has seemed to be a little bit broken. And Raphael Davis, much to your chagrin, mentioned that this Wisconsin team had the potential to be as good as your 2014-15 Badgers team.
To beat, yep.
To be just as good, to be just or better. He said that
they could win. Yep.
Yep. And you were not too happy with that take. You thought, for many reasons, we've had many chats offline. So, for one, is that completely out of the window, regardless of the result for this year now?
That they're better than the 2014-15
that they could be. That they could be.
But yeah, I would say it's out the window, and I would say I was upset because it was more. I wasn't upset. It was more just you can't compare. It's unfair to this group of kids who's put out a hell of a season, improved as much as they have, to compare them to a team that went 36-3, was a number 1 seed, made it to the national championship, won everything you possibly have, had a national player of the year, Hall of Fame coach. I just thought it was unfair to all of a sudden just say, I think this team's better. I think this team could beat them, because if we're being realistic, if you're saying that if he was comparing that this team this year could beat that team, you're saying they could beat or they're as good as any team that's played in the Big Ten in the last 10 years. Because that 2014-15 team has been the best team in the last 10 years in the entire Big Ten, if we're being real. So I thought that was a little out of line and a little premature and a little like, let's just enjoy what this team is doing. They put out a hell of a season, great group of kids. They're playing really well. And let's just enjoy it. They've already had 4 or 5 losses and now they have 8, 9. So it's not in the ballpark. That being said, I think they have the ability to accomplish pretty much anything that most Wisconsin teams have done. And I think they have the recipe to do it. You're looking around. So I'd like, go ahead.
No, I'm thinking. I want to give context before we keep going. I want to give even more context. So Raphael Davis made the comment on Big Ten Network, and then he made the comment again on our preview show. He also mentioned why he thought this team was so good was because of the difficulty to scout them because of the variety of weapons. Whereas, the 14-15 team, obviously, all great players, but obviously Frank it started and finished with Frank and then Sam and Nigel as well, but mainly with Frank. So that I just want to give that context before we keep going. You want to add in before we keep?
Yeah, it was just more so because he played against that team as well.
Yep.
So it was like when we prepared for them, he basically saying this team, you had to guard everybody. If anybody gets open, you can't leave them at all. Like you can't leave anybody. When in reality, that's not super factual, especially compared to the 2014-15 team where all 5 guys could shoot 40% from 3, could score, outside, inside, national player of the year, all that. And basically saying, they had a way to scheme for that 14-15 team. And now, it's impossible to scheme for when in reality that wasn't true either. But
you tend to do this. You are throwing words into the conversation that were never said, such as
those were said.
Such as no one ever said that you can't scheme for 2000 or that you can scheme for 2014-15, and no one said it was impossible to scheme for this team. No, that
he said they had a plan. He said they had a plan in place that would work. And it didn't work.
He said they had a plan. He didn't say it would work. He said he had a plan.
He said we can make it work. We can make it work. We had the plan. We can make it work. The plan didn't work because we beat them by 25. So my point is, you can put a plan for any team, but if it doesn't work, then obviously you're hard to scheme for, and obviously it didn't work.
He said they knew what the plan was. He didn't say that it was going to work. He just said they knew what the plan was. Like they knew. He said
we can make it work. We can make it work. Is what he said.
Well, listen, we don't have to get.
You can make the plan work.
I wish.
And it didn't work.
one day when our pod gets a little bigger and Joey has a little more manpower back there, we'll be able to pull up the sound clips and pull up the receipts on site.
No. Again, but the whole emphasis on this was I didn't think it was appropriate at the time to compare them to what most people would say was the best team in school history. And I think that was a little premature. And it proved to be so because there were flaws. There were things that happened throughout the year that was like you could see, not a 4-game losing streak happening, but maybe this team's not perfect. And no team's perfect, but there's no Frank out there. There's
I think that is a 100% fair sentiment. I did agree with the fact that this team may be more hard to prepare for, not easier to stop. And what we've talked about at length is and I'll give just context to the listeners. What I mean by that is I think this team does have more guys who are more aggressive with the basketball. Not necessarily, I'm not even going to say they're even better players, but they're more aggressive. Like you don't know what you're going to get each night. Like again, you go in, you're going to stop AJ and Steve and whatever, and then Tyler's going to have 15. Connor Season's going to do this. Max Klesmit's going to go for 11. So that's I think what is meant by that. That being said, again, you and I have gone back and forth about right and wrong in this conversation. So now let's get into, to me, the problem with the Badgers in the last 4 games is they have gotten entirely away from that formula of sharing the ball, of moving the ball, of their, whose night is it going to be? I think AJ is kind of taking it upon himself to kind of force the issue. But to your point, AJ is not Frank. So not yet, at least. So I think that's been a lot of the problems. I think he shot 22 shots against Nebraska, 15 the game after that, 15 against Purdue, I believe. 14 after that. So, and 2 assists in 5 games. So I think, and not to tear down AJ, but that's not a winning for. That's easy to game plan for. So I think they have 100% gotten away from what Rafael Davis was talking about, which has led to some of their problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's had like a AJ. Not to pile on AJ because he's extremely talented. He's brought a dynamic to this team, but I think he's had like 105 or 100 some shot attempts with 2 assists. To your point, so that is that winning formula that made us so good. That all guys are aggressive. It almost came back and bit us in the ass a little bit, having all because now we're shot selection has kind of been a poor. So we have guys who are aggressive, but maybe not taking the right ones when maybe they should be not less aggressive, but aggressive in different ways and get off the ball and move it and keep moving body. So I think what made us so good was our movement, our flow, our actions, the way we had guys moving the ball. Whoever's hands it ended up in could make a play from certain spots on the floor, and that's why we were so good. And then I think teams were kind of letting us take certain shots, and we were kind of baited into them and took them. Those 18-foot pull-ups with 25 seconds on the shot clock type shots in critical situations. But that and turnovers. Again, aggressive is good, but we're having like 16 turnovers in games. I mean, that is not to sound like Bo Ryan here, but 16 is too many. I mean, I'm fine with 10, 12. I mean, that's cool, but six and just literally throwing the ball to the other team or throwing the ball out of bounds. It's not even like you're trying to make a play and get into charge or lose it off your foot as you're getting to the hoop or something. Uncharacteristic turnovers, bad shot selection, I think are the two things that kind of factored into the rough stretch here.
So I think 100%, and I don't think that's a Bo Ryan thing either. I think any coach would be irate with 16 turnovers from high school to Phil Jackson. So it's 100% with that. But like you got to look at what are causing the turnovers, what's causing the stagnation on offense, and again, I think we have to go back to that second half against Nebraska when I think the ball movement kind of stopped. Ball movement stops. Guys start forcing, guys start pressing. We talked about this off camera. You've been in this situation when you guys were 16-0, even though you beat William and Mary and Green Bay, and then you lost 4 straight Big Ten games, right?
We started 16-0. We beat teams like Virginia and Marquette and West Virginia and St. John's and Florida, who was the number 1 ranked team in the country at the end of the year. Some other teams, we beat Iowa, started the Big Ten season, a couple Big Ten wins. So, yeah, we had a lot of great wins. We're 16-0 and then lost 5 of 6. So very similar kind of this team.
It's fucking with you, but seriously. So no, just I'm just playing. But so give some insight because I don't think it was quite the same. We started off well my freshman year, but nowhere near as good as 16-0, and we lost 6 games in a row in the Big Ten. And when that happened,
senior year, Jordan, didn't we start like 1-4 in the Big Ten or 1-3 or something?
Yeah, we did start slow. We started slow in the Big Ten. Yeah. Started slow in the Big Ten, but even then, like those teams were still different. So, like, what was going through your mind? Kind of illustrate what is going on in the locker room when it seems like nothing can go right. Like you just can't figure it out. You're going to the worst team in the Big Ten or second worst team in the Big Ten in Michigan, and you're losing on the road. Like, what's going through your mind, and then how are you getting out of that rut?
It's a helpless feeling, and you try to get out of it. You almost try too hard, and it just makes it worse. Because to your point, this team, we lost to Nebraska, we lost to Michigan. In 2013-14, we were 16-0. We ended up losing to Northwestern at home, and Northwestern at the time was not Northwestern now. And you think, we lost I think 3 home games out of that 5 or 6. So we were in no way, shape, or form this dominant team. That team ended up making the Final Four, obviously. But so I think we went from being ranked 2 in the country to being unranked in 2 weeks, which is very similar to this team, where I think they were ranked 6th. Mm-hmm. And now we got down to 20 something or whatever, but 20, yeah. So very similar. But how you get out of it is, I think, I think what we talked about last year, Jordan, was a lot about this team was missing an identity and leadership. And It felt like leadership has kind of been lacking a little bit too these last few weeks in terms of who's going to step up and not necessarily be vocal, but just get guys on track and make some sort of play, get guys going, like who's going to be the energy, whatever it might be. And it seems like that was lacking a bit. I'm still trying to figure out who that is. Is it Chucky? Is it Tyler? Yeah. I still don't know. But I think that's a factor. When we had the stretch with you, I mean, it was clear that you were the leader. We were 1-3. Guys were looking at you to come up and be vocal. And I think you did that, and by your play and your voice. So I think that stuff works and helps.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think that is again, I think that goes back to the Achilles heel of having a lot of talent when, especially on a team like this, to me, the natural leader should be Tyler Wall. Like Tyler's been there for 9 years now. So it's like, the natural leader. No, the natural leader should be Tyler. I'm not sure if that's his personality. To me, it seems as though Chucky's kind of the one who, if nothing else, leads by example. Leads with effort, leads with unselfishness. So I do think that is what. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking. I agree. I don't know if any of them have that personality. That's
Yeah,
just Chucky
like
had, because it'd be great if Chucky had. I don't think Chucky has it either in terms of that like outgoing, like pissed off personality.
yeah, and that's something that I think seems like will be the one thing to me that'll hold this team back, because you have to have someone who's willing to tell AJ, yo, like, listen, I get it. You can score. You're talented. You can make these shots. Pass the ball, though. Like, get in the paint, kick out, spray it out. He had a possession last game, I think, where he got in the paint against Ohio State and sprayed it out. And I think he didn't even get an assist, but I think it might have been a hockey assist or something like that. But if AJ can get in the paint and make those plays, like, that sparks an offense, as opposed to, I know Coach Gard loves to throw it in the post, which is always great, but throw it in the post resorts to one-on-one too, just like one-on-one on the perimeter. You have someone who could get in the paint, collapse the defense, get that ball movement, everybody shares it, and the energy is there. That changes everything. So I feel like you got to have that guy who's going to grab AJ by the jersey or talk to him in the room and be like, yo, we need you to do this. You're good. Like, we love you, but we need you to do this. We need, Connor, we need you to come in here when you're in here and play defense out of your mind, because we're struggling right now. Like, Steven, we need you to be more assertive with the ball. I'm like you said, I'm still wondering. I think it's Chucky, though. I really do.
I hope it's Chucky. It should be Chucky, I think. Yeah, but it's almost like, what made us so great was that there was five guys, always touching it, moving it, and it felt like, to your point, like Steve, yeah, he needs to be more aggressive, but he wasn't really getting the touches either. I mean, so someone's got to feel that and see that and be like, all right, we need to get Steve a touch here, whether it's a post touch, whether it's off a ball screen, just something to get, because what makes us good is all five guys active, moving it, and when two or three guys are doing the soul searching of having the ball in their hand, we're not as good of a team. So someone's got to be the one to feel that, to see that, to say it, and to do it. And I think we're still figuring it out.
Do you think in those moments like now when things seem to be one thing about this team is they do play a little faster, they get up and down. To me, it seems like they've kind of slowed down with the turbulence as opposed to just flying through the turbulence. Like, they've grabbed onto everything and held on tight instead of just flying right through it. Again, Ohio State, at the end of the second half, the ball finally, it seemed like a burst of energy. They were getting steals, they were getting out in transition. So to me, do you think it's better to come down in those situations, get a good shot every time, or is it better just to, play through the mistakes, play fast, and just don't think?
That's a good. You don't want to think. Yeah, you want to play natural, but at some point, if you're having 16 turnovers, you do have to, sit back and kind of think about it a little bit. Like, why did we turn the ball over there, and what can we do to be better? But we talked a lot about offensively, but I also think one thing that is obviously stagnated this team is defense. We're giving up how many points to. I mean, Rutgers has been a team who has trouble scoring the ball. I know they had one player back who's doing pretty good, but we give up 70 some points to Rutgers. Michigan on the road, we're giving up too many points, which when you're in a rut, you have to rely on something. And we didn't fall back on our defense. We didn't fall back on toughness, physicality, rebound. We didn't fall back on what should always kind of be there, no matter how many points we're scoring, no matter how fast we're playing offensively, our pace, missing shots, whatever. We should have some sort of identity on the defensive end. And it feels like Ohio State yesterday, hopefully, is a start to that, to finish out the season. It feels like they had more energy. We're having more fun. We're more, aggressive on that end of the court. So I think that is something that this team has been missing too, really the whole year. But our offense has hit it because we scored in the 80s. But now it showed the last few weeks that we have some holes that way as well.
What would you think? What would you say, since you the leader type? If you was on this team, you think you could turn them around?
I'm not on the team, so it's not my job.
Oh, here you
Proofs
go.
in
Here
proofs in
you
the
go.
pudding.
You went from
Proofs in the
I
pudding,
already
Jordan.
I know what buttons to hit. I'ma just to get you fired up, all I gotta do is talk shit about 2014-15
No, you don't.
team.
No,
You
you
about
don't.
yeah,
It's
you
just
do.
the facts of the facts. I'm not. If you're not gonna be real about what happened or what is happening, I'm gonna be like, that's wrong. That's just not how it was or how it, And so if you're gonna say what would I do in the situation, we were in that situation and good things happened. It wasn't because of me. It was because of our team and a couple leaders. And sure, I was a part of that. But
Just
yeah, we
just
figured it out.
just for more context to give insight into what
I
kind of
give you
what
credit
kind
first
of
of all,
guy.
and you're trying to hate on me. Let's
I'm
make
not
that
hating.
clear.
I'm not hating. I love when you get fired up because you always trying to be politically correct. So I love it. I'm over here,
Yeah.
puppet master over here, man.
Yeah,
Just for
classic Jordan, instigator, instigator.
just for more context into what kind of person Josh is. We mentioned the aforementioned Rafael Davis came on our preview show and said what he said after saying it on the Big Ten Network. Josh played along. He was politically correct and very kind and the nice person that he is, and texted me about 8 hours later the next morning and sent a box score of the game when Purdue played with Rafael Davis played against Wisconsin and showed the 20-point victory and then sent a paragraph long text to me about how wrong he was. So just don't let Josh's cool or nice
No.
demeanor fool y'all. What do you say?
Got competitive. Sorry, sue me. But also, I blamed you for agreeing with that and causing this team to go in a tailspin for 4 games.
Whoa,
So yeah, you deserve some of the.
whoa! I did
All
not
I'm
agree.
saying
I
is
did not agree
you
with
guys
that.
put this energy in the air, and I was just like,
I,
hold on, hold your horses, pump the brakes.
hey,
Let's be real here. That's
I
all I
did
was trying
not
to do.
agree with that. We living in a wild time in 2024. I'm liable to sue you for libel or slander. I don't try and put dirt on. I did not agree with that. I did not agree with that. However,
You agreed more
I
than you should have.
did. No, I did not. I
You did
did
not disagree.
understand.
You did not disagree.
I did understand what he was trying to say. Understanding is important. Listening is the most important part of communication, Josh. That's one thing. I know you got 2 kids now. You got to write this down and teach your kids now. Teach your kids. Don't be. We got a question for how many games have they lost since? I'm not back in the States yet, Joey. So the Badgers haven't lost any games since I came back. Probably when I come back to U.S. soil, I think we might get right again, especially looking at this schedule.
Ever since those egregious comments Jordan was a part of, they lost 4 out of 5.
No,
Though, so that's just
a part of. Nah,
yeah.
I'm a part of this. See, you know what I'm saying? It's Black History Month, man. Stop trying to frame me. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. But listen, we got Iowa on the road coming up, home for Maryland, at Indiana, and home for Illinois, and then home for Rutgers and at Purdue. Last 6 games, 8-5. Believe 3 games out of the Big Ten race now. If I'm not, let me double check that before.
Yeah, it feels like we might be out of that.
3 games out of the Big Ten, 6 to play. Got Illinois and Purdue. Is over? Did they blow the chance? Purdue has Minnesota, Ohio State, Rutgers, Michigan State, Illinois, and Wisconsin.
We got to win out for sure and hope Purdue collapses a little bit. But I think the more thing to be worried about right now, not worried about, to focus on is getting a road win. I mean, I think we've lost now 3 or 4 straight road games, maybe 4 or 5 road games. And the one road win we had was against Minnesota, kind of at the buzzer. So I think we have struggled on the road. Obviously, 4 of these last 5 in the Big Ten season, but also if you think about early in the season, at Providence we got smacked, at Arizona got smacked. So I think most of our poor performances have been away from the Kohl Center or neutral site. So I'd love to see this team go down to Iowa and kind of have that road warriors mentality a little bit and try to get on track away from home.
That makes sense. Iowa City, tough place to win. They're coming off a 15 or 20 point comeback against Minnesota a couple weeks ago. Going into the stretch of the season, we mentioned leadership. We mentioned, the things AJ needs to do, the things everybody needs to do. Robbie Hummel was on the broadcast last night and was adamant about Chucky Hepburn being more aggressive down the stretch. We hope to get Chucky on the show before the end of the season. What Is Robbie right? And what would you like to see specifically out of Chucky? How important is he to make a run in March for the Badgers?
I think he's the key. I think we talked about this before, but I think he's maybe the one guy who hasn't reached his ceiling as a player this season. Like I think Tyler's Tyler. He's been around for forever, as you know. I mean, Max has played great in spurts. AJ feels like everybody's kind of John Blackwell's a freshman. Was hot early in the season and things like that. But I think Chucky's the one who hasn't really shown, I think, how good he can be, especially on the offensive end. So I think he's done a tremendous job of leading this team offensively and getting guys involved and figuring out who to get the ball in the right spots to, taking the other team's point guard out of the game a little bit defensively. So his defense, his playmaking for others has been great, but I still think he has another level to get to in terms of scoring the basketball and making it harder to defend because some teams have gone under on him. We got these dribble handoff actions, we got these ball screen actions, and teams are going under on him, which kind of has made the rest of the guys not as open and maybe made our offense not as smooth as well because they didn't have to chase him over the top and it's been harder to kind of create more angles and openings. So I think the more aggressive he is, it's not only going to, make his scoring from, 6 points to 10 points, but it's also just going to create stuff for other guys to get easier shots. So I just think he's too good to average 6 points a game, 7 points a game, and has the ball in his hands too much. So I think he's the guy. He's done great. I think he's done a lot of good things for us, but I think he's got another level to get to.
I think there's one way to attack those unders like that they haven't got into yet, which is especially with Kirk being there, and it's a big European thing, is when you go under, and this, I'm sure, and they go under just to turn around, rescreen,
yeah,
rescreen low and attack, and that's actually one thing that has surprised me. I think with the nature of the offense and how much body movement there is, I think the rescreen is more of like when you allow the playmaker to absolutely make a play, where I think this offense, rightfully so, is so predicated on moving side to side and letting the next guy make the play if it's not there. But I wouldn't be shocked if I saw something like that be put into the offense moving forward for the Badgers.
I think it was also good. I think Chucky saw 2 threes go in against Ohio State. I think they had to feel. I think they had to feel good. I think that'll give him a little more confidence too to be a little more aggressive offensively. And aggressive doesn't mean taking more shots necessarily. It's just he's got to be a threat. And I think he got almost too comfortable being the distributor, old school point guard. We're not even looking for a shot. When I think at his core, he has that in him. And you would know more than anybody there. Like we needed Jordan Taylor to come off screens and look to score. No matter how much you wanted to dish and pass, you have to do both. And I think he got a little too comfortable just trying to find guys.
1,000%. 1,000%. Well, listen, that is all we got for you. We appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you go follow along at Beyond the Big Ten on all social media accounts, Twitter, IG, TikTok, and also on YouTube. And just make sure to keep supporting us, keep listening in, keep tuning in. I'm Jordan Taylor. That's Yas Yasa. We appreciate y'all, and we'll catch y'all next time.